at the D in lend, so we're at the end of lend, we're at due diligence. Now this is super important. So we talked about evaluating the borrower, but you also have to evaluate the transaction. And this is especially important when you're lending based on real estate. So when I say due diligence, I mean, don't take everything that the borrower is telling you as fact. And I know that sounds like so just jaded and just critical and skeptical, but that's how you have to be. I mean, we're talking about your money here. And so it's better to feel that discomfort of doing your due diligence than to make a mistake and not get your money back. And so that's not what we want. So we are going to talk about doing your due diligence. Now, there's a ton of ways to do it. You can have interviews with the borrower, get information, and then validate that information. You can involve other parties, like you can hire a title company, for instance. If you're lending based on real estate, you want to make sure, that the title is clear before you lend on this real estate. You can just do your own online searches. Like you can look up the property with online public tools. You can also use paid tools. Sometimes I use a paid tool to look up properties to make sure that this is a real contract. Like if I'm receiving a residential purchase agreement and I'm seeing the names of the two parties, I will look it up. I'll look up the address and be like, and see, who's actually on title. It's just, to make sure that you're protecting yourself and protecting your investment, because you wouldn't believe how much fraud there is out there. And I'm not saying that the borrower is necessarily trying to defraud you, but it may even just be the seller in the transaction trying to defraud the buyer. You just never know. And so it's best to just do your own due diligence. This is also important when you are lending to people who are investing. Like if you are lending to a fix and flipper, doing your own due diligence can mean calculating your own numbers. Now, this is especially important when you have a new flipper that you're lending to, or maybe someone less experienced. You want to make sure that their strategy, their scope of work, their budget makes sense to you and for what you know to be true. And so for me, I'm in real estate, right? I invest in real estate. And so I have my own ideas about what the contingency amount should be, how much equity there should be in the deal, all these things. And so these are things I look at, when I'm evaluating a deal. Now, when it comes to other types of loans for like a contractor, I want to understand the project. If you're telling me that you're pouring concrete, I want to see, I want to understand, especially if it's local. Like I want to stop by, I want to see that you're actually pouring concrete, that there's actually a project that you're working on. I want to see the contract between you and the owner of the property. Who are you pouring this concrete for? Is this a legitimate business transaction? So these are the types of things you'll be looking into when you're doing your due diligence. You're really just focusing on validating anything that is being presented to you as a fact. That's going to help you ask more questions and make sure that you're comfortable with the transaction, but also just that the transaction makes sense and that it's likely that they're going to pay you back.